This video is sponsored by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, build your online presence with Squarespace.
Hey everyone, Ace of Clay here, and welcome to another video. Today, we're finally making Krampus. If you're not familiar with Krampus, according to Wikipedia, in Central European folklore, Krampus is a horned anthropomorphic figure described as half goat, half demon, who during the Christmas season punishes children who have misbehaved. This contrasts with St. Nicholas, who rewards the well-behaved with gifts. So basically, he's an anti-Santa and you really don't want him coming down your chimney. Now for this project, we're going to do things a little bit differently because instead of sculpting the entire figure with its arms and legs and hands and all that, we're going to make a bust instead. I'm really glad that I decided to do this because I was able to sculpt his head and face and all that at a much larger scale than what I normally would, so this allows a ton more room for detail, and I was able to really take my time on it, and I am so happy with the end result, and I cannot wait for you to see it. And really quick, I just added a couple logo shirts to the shop. If you want to check those out, they are linked below. Now without further ado, let's sculpt Krampus. But wait, before we do that, like and subscribe. Alright, let's get started. Like I said, this is going to be a bust of Krampus, which means that the sculpture will only include his head and part of his chest and shoulders. So to get the armature started, I drilled a hole into a wooden plaque, added a bamboo skewer as the main support, and then I'm twisting some wire to create his neck and head. And as always, all of the materials and tools that I use in this video are listed in the description box below, along with my affiliate links if you want to purchase anything. And after reinforcing his neck with some more wire, it's time to bulk everything out with some aluminum foil. I'm going to start shaping out his chest and shoulders, and then we'll go in and do the head. Now that everything is bulked out with foil, we're going to go in and add some Sculpey Ultralight over the entire thing. I love doing this because it creates a solid base for me to start adding clay, and because Ultralight is extremely light, I don't have to worry about it weighing anything down. Right, once everything is covered, we're just going to poke in some bamboo skewers for his future horns. And now he's ready for his first bake. Then once he's baked and completely cooled down, he looks exactly the same, and now we're going to cover the entire thing in Super Sculpey Original. And once everything is covered, it's time to start some facial features. I'm just marking out the area for the eyes with my large ball stylus. Now we're going to bring out his forehead a little bit with some more clay. And once his forehead is on and blended in nicely, we're going to go ahead and bring out his cheekbones a little bit. Now we're going to give him a nice pointy chin. And his face is starting to take shape. Time to add the eyes. This technique that I'm using for the eyes doesn't involve using beads or anything like that or pre-baking the clay. Obviously, as you can see, I'm just adding 2 little balls of clay and pressing out the area of the eye with this tool right here. And I'm sort of creating the eyelids and the eyeball at the same time. And then I'm just using my spoon tool to smooth everything out and get everything nice and refined. Now to bring more detail to the eyes, I'm just going to add a tiny little tear duct. Now we're going to repeat this process for the other eye. And that lower lid is looking a little small, so I'm just going to add a tiny snake of clay to bring it up a little bit more so that it matches the other side. Now I want to give him a very gaunt appearance, so I'm just going in here with my firm detail tool to make his eyes look a little more sunken and really define those eye sockets. Now I'm going to go in and give him a nice angry brow. Then once both brow shapes are on, we're just going to blend them in with everything else and make sure that we don't ruin the eyes. So we're going to be very careful and use some smaller tools to get underneath. Alright, cool. He's coming together. Let's keep going. Time for his nose. I just created this shape in my fingertips and I'm adding it, giving him a nice pointed looking nose. And then we're just going to bring out his cheeks a little bit, right where they meet the nose, by adding some more clay and then blending that in along with the edges of the nose. Now I want to bring in the sides of his nose a little bit more, so I'm just removing some clay in the shape that I want, and then just smoothing everything out. And now for the nostrils. We're just digging those out with this tool here, and then normally I would use a ball stylus and sort of just wiggle it around in there, but I don't want to push the clay all over the place, so I'm just removing it instead. And we're just going to shave down that cheek a little bit so it matches the other side a little bit better. There we go. Now we're going to detail the brow a little bit more with some wrinkles. And now for some forehead wrinkles. Just a nice thin snake of clay that I blend in with the rest of the surface. Now for his mouth, I'm just drawing out the shape that I want and then digging it out like that. Just removing the clay so that I can add some teeth in there. And originally I wanted to give him a really wide smile, but I don't know, I decided to go with this route instead. I'm happy I did. I like how it turns out, you'll see. Now we're just kind of undoing everything we just did and adding some more clay for his teeth, and I'm just going to carve those out with this tool again, and then using my color shapers to define the areas in between each tooth. Not bad. His top teeth are looking pretty good. Now we're going to give him a tongue. Then using my Explorer tool, we're going to add some detail to his teeth. And we're going to texture that tongue with a tiny ball stylus, and then add some bacon bond for the bottom teeth. And then to create the teeth, I just rolled out a snake of clay and just cut them out, and I'm just sort of shaping them here with my fingertips and then refining them with a couple different tools. We're going to repeat this process for every single tooth, and I want them to be of varying sizes so they're not all exactly the same. And once all the teeth are in, we're going to go ahead and finish it off with his bottom lip. Faces are probably my top favorite thing to sculpt, so I really enjoyed working on this project, especially at this scale. I really hope you like it because I would love to make more videos like this, so let me know if you want to see more busts. I have a ton of ideas that I could make busts for instead of having to do the entire body. This was so relaxing, so much fun, and I was really able to just hone in on the details on the face and not have to worry about anything else. So I absolutely loved it, and I really hope you guys like it too. So let me know in the comments if you want to see more videos like this. Now for my favorite part, the wrinkles, the details on his face. I'm just going in with this cone-shaped color shaper to create this nice, creepy skin texture. It's super easy and super effective. Then once the base wrinkles are down on his face, we're going to go ahead and detail his neck. I'm just going to add 2 snakes of clay and blend them in like so to make it kind of like sagging skin. Then once the shape is done, we're going to go back in with that cone-shaped color shaper to create some wrinkles. I'm just adding some horizontal lines going across the neck, and then I'm going to go ahead and do some vertical and diagonal lines as well. Alright, once we got that first set of wrinkles down, it's looking pretty good. Let's do the horns. I'm just adding some aluminum foil over my bamboo skewers that I've inserted into his head earlier, and I just trimmed those down a little bit, and we're just shaping out the horns, trimming them to size, and getting them to a shape that is exactly what I want. And once those horns look about right, we're going to start adding some clay. And since they're not permanently attached yet, we're just going to take those off because it's a lot easier to work with them when they're not connected to his head. Then for the detail, I'm just going to add these nice little strips of clay all the way down the horn just to give it some more dimension and make it look more interesting. And once we got all those strips down, it's time to add some detail to them. I'm going in with my pin tool and I'm just rolling the horn under my pin tool to create these nice horizontal lines. Rolling the horn and the pin tool together to create the lines is actually more effective in my opinion than dragging the pin tool on the surface, because if you drag the tool instead, it's going to bring up clay and you're going to have all these little tiny pieces of clay all over the place. So anyway, now that both of the horns are done, we're just going to stick those on. Those look nice. Now we're going to start his ears. I'm just starting with this teardrop shape and shaping them out with my large ball stylus. And then we're going to add them to the figure and further detail them. Alright, that's a start. And then before I add it to the head, I'm just adding this little piece of clay to go behind the ear so that it sticks out a little bit and it's not just flat to the side of his head. Just going to stick that on with a little bit of Bacon Bond, blend it in, and then get those details finished on him. And I'm not worried about what the back of the ears look like at all, because later we'll be gluing some hair onto that area. And the first ear's on, and the second ear's done off camera. Add some more wrinkles to his head right here, and then add a nice little texture with a tiny ball stylus to each ear. And then for the last step, we're going to just refine everything as much as possible, add some more wrinkles here and there, and really push the detail on him. Now we're going to brush the entire surface with clay softener to remove fingerprints, and he's ready for his final bake. Then once he's baked and completely cooled down, that's looking pretty good. Time for paint. I'm going to start by creating a nice dark brown wash, which is just dark brown paint mixed with water. Add that to the surface of his face and wipe off the excess with paper towel. This gets all of the paint into the nooks and crannies on his face. And before I forget, all of the paints that I use in this video are Folk Art brand matte acrylics. And I do want to maintain the translucency of the clay, so I will pretty much be painting him entirely in washes. So this will allow the translucent clay surface to show through the paint that I'm adding. I'm not just adding a solid color over it. This is going to keep it nice and realistic, I hope. Now we're just adding some pure magenta to all of the wrinkles and recessed areas of his face, a little bit on his brow bone, paint his gums. Now we're going to follow the pure magenta in his eye sockets with a little bit of true blue mixed with pure black. Now using our dark brown wash again, we're going to go in and shade some areas on his face, like the areas around his nose, under his cheekbones, and so on and so forth. Then I created another dark brown wash by adding a little bit of barnyard red, and I'm just adding that to the surface and wiping off the excess with my fingertips. Now I'm going in with a little bit of dove gray, just gently dusting this on the surface to bring out the details a little bit more. And because this guy is, Krampus and he's outside in the winter, we're going to add some red to his ears and the tip of his nose, just to make him look like he's a little cold. Thought this was a nice touch. Then to bring out the cracks and wrinkles in his face even more, I'm going in with a very fine paintbrush and some darkened pure magenta, and I'm literally tracing every single wrinkle in his face. And we're going to go ahead and make his earlobes cold too. Now let's see how he looks. Not bad, not bad. Now I'm going to go in with my fine paintbrush again and some grass green to create some little veins on his temples. And I'm just dabbing them off with my fingertips. And then I'm going in with some barnyard red on that same fine paintbrush to create these little tiny blood vessels on the tips of his nose. And then I'm going in with a larger paintbrush and just dabbing on some texture to his head and forehead areas and his neck. Then we're going to paint his horns. I mixed dark brown with pure black to create this and a little bit of yellow bright. We're just brushing that on without any water and rubbing the excess off with paper towel. Like that. Then for the last step on his skin, I just want to splatter some brown paint with a toothbrush, so I'm protecting my wall there. And we're just splattering it on and dabbing off the excess with my fingertips as I go. Very nice. Now we're going to paint his eyes yellow. Just going in with some straight up yellow bright. Like that. Then once all the yellow's on, I just want to dab on some titanium white to brighten them even more. Then I'm going in with my fine paintbrush to paint some lizardy looking pupils. I was going to do goat pupils, but I thought these would be a little creepier. Now we're going to paint his tongue and his teeth. The tongue is barnyard red and the teeth are yellow bright mixed with warm white and dark brown. I'm just covering all of those, being careful not to get it on any of his skin. Now I'm going to heighten the surface texture on his teeth with some dark brown. And then glaze his eyes with some glossy varnish and his tongue and teeth. Then for the last step, I'm going to paint the area underneath his eyes and his horns with some matte varnish. This just gives it a very slight sheen and makes it look a little more realistic. Then we're going to paint the base dark brown. And for the last step, it's time to cover pretty much the entire thing in fur. For the fur, we'll be using this synthetic wool in couple different colors. We got some gray, some brown, some light brown. Don't need this gold piece here. And then to attach this, I will be using Fabri-Tac. This is a great adhesive when you're trying to glue non-clay things to polymer clay. works great. I actually like it better than super glue. Even the gel super glue, I like it better than that. Alright, then I'm just trimming that synthetic wool, added a line of glue where I want to attach it, and we're just pressing it on. This was a very messy process. I don't know if you can tell from the time lapse or not, but the hair was always getting stuck to my fingertips and it was just a mess. And I'm like, I'm not a doll maker, so I don't really have patience for this kind of thing, but I really wanted it to work out, so I did try my best to take my time and do it right. And so I'm just sort of adding the synthetic wool in like strips, layers, whatever you want to call it, and going from there. Then I decided to add some of this light color right in the middle, sort of around his chest, under his neck, just to add some more dimension so the whole thing isn't just one big blob of brown. And then the wool that I got, it's kind of neat because it looks more natural because the way that it was dyed, the pieces of it fade from color to color, and so those transition areas really make it look more natural. So it's kind of like a light brown to a dark brown instead of just like completely solid brown, if that makes sense. So I really like that, and it looks a lot like fur, not gonna lie. So far so good, and we're just gonna keep adding the fur. I believe the entire process of adding the fur took me 2 hours. Then for the areas where there's a hairline, I held down the hair with one finger and then dragged the ends of it where it meets the skin with my other finger, so that I sort of dragged like little individual pieces of hair up with it, so it creates a more like natural hairline, if that makes sense. And I also did this with my skewer when I used that. That's looking pretty good. Let's keep going. Then of course he's got to have a beard. Then for the last step, it's time to style the hair. I learned this from watching the person that cuts my hair. You just kind of take the ends of it and cut up into it to create an uneven end so that it's not just straight across, and it makes it look a little more natural, and it works great for Krampus. It works great when I get my hair cut too. We're just doing that, sort of poofing it out, cutting it up like crazy, and then for the final step, I hit it with a little bit of hairspray, just to hold it all there. And he's done! My Krampus bust is complete. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you want to see more character busts from me. I had so much fun sculpting at this scale, and I really hope you like it. And that's a wrap. I really hope you like how my bust of Krampus came out. I absolutely love it. I'm so glad I decided to do something different this time. So let me know what you think in the comments. Now before we end the video, let's talk a little bit about our sponsor, Squarespace. Whether you're just getting started or you're an established brand, the Squarespace commerce platform supports the way you do business. Whether you're looking to sell products directly or even bill for your services, they've got you covered. For me personally, I love Squarespace for their portfolios. I'm always expanding my website with more photos of my work, and I love how customizable the galleries are. And I also want to mention their amazing email support team that is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're an actual team in an office that will typically respond to your questions within an hour. So with all that said, head on over to squarespace.com to start your free trial, and then when you're ready to launch your new website, go to squarespace.com/aceofclay to get 10% off your first purchase. And as always, thank you so much for watching and being here. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and then follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter @aceofclay. Join my Facebook group, Aces of Clay, and I will see you in the next video.